Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Treehouse Classroom. I'm Allison, and in today's episode, I'd like to share with you just how we homeschool when we're not in the treehouse. Of course, most of the time, our classroom is in the treehouse because that's how my kids like to learn. But sometimes we just have to get down to the desk work and sit down with our books and do things in a more office-type setting. I love for my kids to learn in a very free way, but there's also a time and place for very serious and concentrated learning. Today I'm going to show you around our indoor classroom, and especially on days like this where it's raining and it's a little chilly outside, this is where we do our learning. So come on, let's check out our inside classroom. So this part of our home was actually a dining room, and we transformed it into a little office space. And actually all of us use it. It started out kind of as my office with my proofreading work that I do here from home. That's my desk, and my husband's desk is over here. And of course, when we were not homeschooling, that's all we needed in here. He and I needed a workspace, and that's about all we had in here. But then when we decided to homeschool, we added 2 desks. And that worked out okay, but honestly, they didn't use those desks a whole lot. They preferred to sit in this chair or this chair, and sometimes they even came in here to the kitchen and sat at the table. That is not a real spider, by the way. It looks like my kids are trying to scare me again. And your kitchen table just might be a perfect place for your kids to have their class. And honestly, as far as classrooms go, your whole house can operate as a classroom. Out here is our living room, and if the birds aren't making too much noise, the living room works really well as our classroom too. Sometimes the boys just like to lay down on the couch while they're reading or sit in a nice comfy chair to do some of their schoolwork. Now, since my children prefer to do their schoolwork at the table or in a chair or something like that, we have moved their desks into their own bedrooms, and they use those a lot more actually in their bedroom as they do things like artwork and writing stories and things like that. They actually get a lot more use since they're right there in their bedroom. So in this next school year, I'm taking our desks to the boys. I found these, and it's just a little lap desk, and it's soft on one side, and of course it has a writing surface. And these are really unique because they have a cup holder, a little space for their writing utensil, and an LED light. Something else that we're planning on adding are hammocks in their bedrooms, or rather in their bedroom doors. It's a bar that hooks up in between the door jamb, and you can string a hammock. It's just really relaxing, and it's a great way for the kids to sit down in a solitary environment and do their work quietly and for a prolonged period of time. I think this is going to be a real score for them, and I know they're going to be really excited to see that as one of their new classrooms indoors. Before we get going any farther, I want you to realize that I cleaned my house before I started this video. It took me time, and I don't want any prospective homeschooling mom or an existing homeschool mom to say, "Oh, look, she's got it all together. Of course she can do all these fun things in the treehouse classroom because her house is always clean." And no, that is not the case. I took a whole pile of laundry and moved it from the couch to my bedroom before I shot this video, because that's just life, and none of us really has it all together 100% of the time, unless you've got a whole lot of people working for you. And no, we cannot hold it all together all the time. So our classroom does not always look like what you see right now. I've cleaned it up. So don't get discouraged and think, oh, I have to have a nice, perfectly clean, picked up home before I can homeschool properly. Of course, order does help, but I'll let you in on a little secret. My sister, she's an Army captain, and she really is very organized, and amazingly so. She told me once that just start with making your bed. If you can at least get your bed made first thing in the morning, you will feel like you have got something under control. And you might get a few other things under control from there. I only have 2 children. There are folks out there listening who have 3, 4, 5. And my hat's off to you for just getting them up and keeping them alive each day. If you can do anything in addition to that, then you're doing great. So be encouraged. There is no right or wrong curriculum. I've got all different kinds of materials here. I have things here representing so many different publishers. Take advantage of what your friends have already used and passing on to you. Here's a great book that we're really excited to start this year. This is particularly for boys. Boys love to learn about exciting things, and we're really excited to jump into this as we're learning about U.S. history this year. Summer reading, I got these books for the kids on eBay, and each one of these books came out to $1.50 because I looked and looked and looked for the very best deal. Of course, this is our corner for all our extra curricular things, the puzzles, the games, the science kits. Something else that we've added this year is the book basket. This was my sister's idea, and I'd love for you to hop onto her YouTube channel. It's called Little Scholars, Little Souls, and I'll put the link down below so you can check that out. She has a lot of great information for choosing books for your little ones, but she suggested using a book basket. And honestly, over the summer, while we're not doing really structured learning per se, we want to emphasize reading, and my husband and I are both making sure to read in sight of our children so that they see us reading and they'll want to read too, because of course our children want to copy us. So here's our book basket. There are hard things, there are very easy things, because reading should be challenging and pleasurable. If you need more help with your curriculum, hop onto some websites like rainbowresource.com. They give you a review of all the different resources that are out there. They tell you what learning level they're meant for. They let you look inside the books. And another great one that lets you look inside is christianbook.com. I love searching their website and comparing one text against another. It helps me figure out if I want a Becca versus Bob Jones or Saxon. And of course, you don't have to stick to just those sources. Once you've found what book you're looking for, then you can go on to different sites like abebooks.com, betterworldbooks.com, thriftbook.com, and of course eBay and Amazon. I've gotten so much of our literature and curriculum from those sources and saved a whole lot in the process. And the beautiful thing about homeschooling is that you can teach your children on the level they are prepared to learn. I was just reading a book by Dorothy Sayers, and she was one of the really amazing proponents of classical education. I didn't understand half of what I read because her intellect was so way up here. But what I did understand was that she was saying children need to learn at their level, not necessarily at their grade level of what society says they are 8 years old, they should be in the 3rd grade. As we seek to educate our children, we should also seek to educate ourselves. I was listening to an audio book called Teaching from Rest, and that author was saying basically that there are so many professionals who continue their learning. You know, you're in a particular job and your boss wants you to continue advancing in that job, becoming better at what you're doing, and so they send you to a class or get some kind of certification to continue getting better and staying up to date on all the trends in that field. Well, the same thing is true of homeschooling, and that author was saying, why not keep educating yourself? There is always something changing and advancing in education, and we should be up on that. So I began educating myself as well, and I'll show you some of the books that I have taken on for this summer that I hope are going to help me become a better teacher for my kids come this fall. All right, this is just a couple in my book list here, and I've got The Weight of Glory by C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, The Mind of the Maker by Dorothy Sayers, and I just finished reading The Well-Trained Mind by Dorothy Sayers. Learning really has to be linked to a greater and better object than ourselves. And I'm getting into a huge topic here, but I just want to share with you that in our homeschool, all our subjects point back to our Creator, God. As Aristotle said, educating the mind without educating the soul is no education at all. And that's something that I really want to emphasize for my children in their learning years, is that if they're going to learn something, they really have to learn where it all came from in the beginning. We all know that there's a lot of craziness in our world, a lot of bad, and how can our kids know what is good and what is bad if they aren't given a moral compass? So my goal in our homeschool is not only to teach from academics, but to give them a foundation to link those academics to morality. Because if they learn math really, really well, but then use it to go and embezzle money when they're grown up, their moral compass has broken down, and so their academics has led them nowhere. And I hope that makes sense, because a lot of people don't see the importance of linking morality, a sense of good and bad, a sense of where that moral measurement comes from. So I'm teaching my kids that there is a direct connection, and a very vital one, so that when they grow up to write poems, they don't write about vulgar things or hurtful things or racist things. They will learn to write things that encourage, that build up. History without a moral compass is just a series of kingdoms rising and falling, but why? There's no answer as to how to stop injustice and what is injustice if there's no moral compass, if we don't learn from those mistakes and learn where the moral breakdown was. So yes, we think that morality is directly involved with education. I believe it was a podcast by Andrew Kern that I was listening to, and he was saying how important it is that your home environment reflect your values. In our home anyway, we want our education to reflect the truth, beauty, and goodness of God, and for our kids to feel that and for it to be a part of their education. We started adding plants in our house because of Corona, just to help purify the air, but it helped me realize that we did need something green and growing in each room. And how does a plant reflect our values? Well, it does. And just the subtlety of a plant in the room can bring an element of beauty into the environment. Now, we've added some other things, and I plan to add even more before we start school next year. But I'm just suggesting that you do put things around your house that suggest your values, because your kids are taking in everything that's around them, and especially in their house. And aren't we in our houses a whole lot right now during all the social distancing? So put quotes around your house, put things that are beautiful. Ask your kids what artwork is really beautiful to them. One of my sons loves Starry Night by Van Gogh, so we put a poster up in his room, and he has that poster near his reading place. We've got a few scripture quotes above some of the doors, along with what we find to be beautiful artwork. So these things reflect what are important to my husband and myself, and my children will take that in as they're growing and hopefully carry it into their adulthood as well. We've got a quote up here from The Wind in the Willows. Their artwork is also very beautiful, and we put that alongside things that we value. So all of these things are what are involved in our inside classroom. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I hope we've given you a few ideas how you might create an indoor classroom for your homeschool. If you liked this episode, please click the like button, and we'll see you back next time.